having that great female role model just showed me that I can do whatever I want. I'll need to work freaking hard for it.
But it can be done.
But it can be done.
Yeah.
You're listening to The Other 50%, a herstory of Hollywood. I'm Julie Harris Walker. This is the podcast where I talk to successful women in entertainment and hear their stories. For this episode, I got to speak with Alexia Anastasio. Alexia has produced no less than 10 films. She's a go-getter who's been making it happen since she was an undergrad. Ever create a film festival? She has. She's also an artist and works best under pressure, and she's currently in pre-production on her latest film, and she will tell us all about it. Alexia was the first interview I filmed, and she nudged me into doing a Facebook Live, so thank you, Alexia, for helping me to take that next step into video. You can find us at theother50%.com for added features, photos, show notes, merchandise. You can also listen on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbay, and now on YouTube. Please subscribe and leave a review wherever it is that you listen. And since podcasting thrives by word of mouth, please tell all your friends. And I have another podcast called The Other 50%, a herstory of tech. You can also find it on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or on the Other 50% website. And that is where I talk to successful women in tech and hear their stories. Okay, here's Alexia.
What do you do?
I am a filmmaker.
Boom.
Boom.
By I am a filmmaker, do you mean writer, producer, director, all of those roles, some of those roles?
All of those roles.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
okay. Take me back to the beginning. What did you want to do when you were a kid?
When I was 11, I wanted to be an actor.
That's really specific. What happened when you were 11?
I was super shy, and my mom put me into acting classes because she thought, like, this will help. And I was just like, what? You know, I get to play, and I get to, like, be all these different people, and I don't really need to decide what I want to do when I grow up because I can do all of it. This sounds like a good idea.
You're like, this is it.
Yeah. So, yeah, it gave me permission to also be my quirky self. I was bullied a lot when I was younger, so it helped me kind of find myself, and I like to say it was my personal development.
I love it. Where'd you grow up?
Long Island, New York.
Long Island. So you probably had pretty good acting classes there.
Yeah, it was great. And then I took classes on Long Island, and then when I was 16, I convinced my mom that I needed to go to classes in the city.
Sure. Where'd you go?
I went to Stella Adler's Young People's Program.
So good. I went to Lee Strasberg.
Wow. I had to actually choose between the two. And
Same coin, two sides.
Exactly. But Stella Adler was on the weekends, and it was like intensive, like all day. And so I can go into the city by myself. My mom allowed me to go by myself to the city.
At 11?
At 16.
Okay, that's more like it.
Yeah. And take the classes and come back. I didn't even know that you had to go across the street to take the subway the other way. I learned that. That's one thing I learned from acting classes. And then
Just get on the right train to go home.
Right, direction. And then I also, I learned that I had a knack for it, and I could dive in deep to wherever, like, my imagination. And then also because I think it was definitely because I was so nervous and had a lot of anxiety, and even had night terrors when I was younger, I was able to tap into those and then use them for good versus,
So you really got it.
Yeah.
You were like, this is my jam.
I loved it.
Okay, so then as you grew up, what happened?
Yeah. So, and then when I was around 16, 17, same thing, in high school, I acted in a silent film in my high school. I went to Northport High School, and because they had money for, extra, classes.
Art?
Yeah, art, exactly. Art in every single class. I took like a business program in high school. I took multiple art classes, like computer art every year, drawing and painting, theater classes.
What is this magical school district you are talking about? Was this a public school?
This is a public school. Yeah, it was pretty much amazing. It was like college, but in high school.
Incredible.
So I had a lot of amazing teachers. So Louise Millman was this one teacher who, there's so many, but this was one that directed me in the silent film, my first film versus all the theater stuff that I did. And we did, in 2 weekends, shot a silent film, a remake of D.W. Griffith's A Girl in Her Trust. And I just fell in love with me, like, working behind the scenes and in front of the scenes and together as a family, because I did a lot of tech beforehand, and theater, but I found a lot of, like, hierarchies of, like, oh, the actors don't really talk to the tech people, and this is a clique, and this is that, and I'm just like, seriously?
We're all in high school here.
I know, like, this is not a caste system. I'm not untouchable, and
nothing cracks me up more than divas in high school.
Seriously,
because I'm starting to experience that in my life right now, and it just kills me. I'm like, none of you have any experience. How diva are you going to be at 15?
I had so much anxiety in high school because of all of that literal drama.
So ridiculous.
But so when I did that short film, it just opened my eyes to what film really was. So then I decided, okay, I want to do film, not theater acting. And then I'm like, well, that was an art teacher as well. So, and she talked about being on the set of this movie with Edie Falco and just like how it went. And I'm just like, that's kind of cool. And that's more the direction I want to go. And then when
Edie Falco, come on.
Right, yeah. And, it was Judy Berlin was the name of the movie. The people who made it were from SUNY Purchase. They all went to SUNY Purchase, and so did one of my other art teachers, Mrs. Minardi. I was doing a lot of drawing and painting and computer art, and so that was an AP art class that had just such intensity. You had to have 40 quality pieces by the end of the year, and I was just like, okay, even though I was really diving into computer art every year, I really dived into fine arts in that class, and so I'm like,
and AP art?
Yeah.
I've never heard of such a thing.
Yeah. It was the best.
Incredible.
And so I wanted that intensity in my college experience. So I was just like, SUNY Purchase, was my number one choice school. And I got in. And luckily, the second semester, they had a new major called New Media.
That was smart.
Yeah. I was at 99. So.
99.
Yeah.
We didn't know what New Media was then.
No.
We barely had internet.
Yeah. I mean, I went to computer camp when I was 11, but it was a whole bunch of guys. There's 2 girls and 3 floors of guys.
And you learned how to make your name across the monitor 1,000 times.
In the first version of Photoshop. And computer music. I learned how to put little notes on a screen and then have music come out of it. And I'm like, what am I going to use this for?
Early days of computing.
Yeah.
So was SUNY Purchase everything you had hoped for?
Yes.
And beyond?
Yeah. It was all the weirdos that
Your people.
It was my people. It was great.
What was your major?
The
New Media.
Yeah. So that was perfect because they just created the major. They didn't quite know what it was yet, so you had to take some classes in web programming and some classes in the art department with photography, and then a lot of film history and digital video classes. So and video art. I loved my video art classes. So I had the mix of it all, and I still use what I learned today. And one of the things especially they taught you is just like you're always going to need to learn another program, and you have to be on top of it. And so that was just kind of a mindset.
So it sounds like you were ready when you got out to do something.
Yes, but it wasn't just because of school. Luckily, because SUNY Purchase is in Westchester, right just north of, 30 minutes north of New York City. So every weekend and every summer, I interned for a girl filmmaker, I interned for a girl distributor, I interned for film festivals, I interned for markets. I just kind of dove into, the independent film world.
Business.
Yeah. And I went to international film festivals, right off the bat. I would come to the semester late because I went to Sundance, and I would leave early because I was going to Cannes in college.
As you do. Were you taking a film there, or you were just going?
I was going through, an internship at the time. And then my last year, I co-created a film festival with one of the directors that I was working with. So I was going with other people making movies.
It's an incredible experience to have when you're still in college.
Yeah, it really opened me up to, like, connections are free. You know, you can make friends wherever you go. And that's really what publicity and marketing is all about.
Yes.
Yeah. And also, especially because so many people go, if you want to do it, you're going to need to work hard at your craft.
So did you spend a couple years after college, like, flailing around trying to figure it out? Or you knew enough people to get right in and do? What did you do?
I created my own art, music, and film festival.
And what?
Yeah. So the first year I was a little bit burnt out. So I went to France, and because my mom did not know what to do with me. So my aunt was living there at the time, so I was very lucky. And, you know, so I learned a little bit of French.
Yeah.
And I got my pace back. And I edited a short film that I was finishing, and I created an art, music, and film festival, and then I launched it satelliting the Cannes Film Festival. I rented a bar and just played I programmed a whole bunch of movies, a whole bunch of art, panels, and then I brought that back to my hometown on Long Island to the Cinema Arts Center, which is a nonprofit cinema, which was also like my second home. So I worked a lot with the Cinema Arts Center after college, doing events and there with celebrities like John Waters and Zoe Bell and David Lynch, and yeah.
Right, I'm kind of speechless. That's why I'm just staring at you like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, so where did this fearlessness come from? That you're like, I'm just going to do this and make this happen.
I think it came from my mom. My mom is a business owner. She does real estate, and she started her own business and has even sold it since. And I think I just watched her, like, you know, throughout the years. Just she wanted to, like, make her own hours, and she wanted what she wanted, and she got it. She wanted kids. She wanted a house. You know, she wanted to live in the United States. She wasn't even born in the United States. She was born in Iran. And so if she wanted to do something, she went out and did it. I'd watch her prospect at nail salons. You know, like, oh, are you looking for, yeah, like if you're looking to move or whatever, just get into conversation with people, and then suddenly, yeah, she'd be selling them a house.
So you had this incredible role model.
Yes.
Of, oh, you really can just do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you started these festivals. You reached out to celebrities. You made all this happen. At some point, did you start making your own films?
Yeah. I was making short films in college, and I edited a feature film called Vampire the Movie, and that gave me the confidence to do features as well. And
Did you direct someone else's film? I mean, edit someone else's film that they directed?
Somebody else's film. And then we worked together on a lot of different projects. So that just gave me confidence. I'm like, hey, I can do this. I can do this. Like, I can get paid to do this. Uh-huh. You know, I'm pretty good at it. And then, you know, I'm getting all these compliments. And then I can also market this, too, because I went and marketed the film and sold them at conventions. And then so I brought, with the DVD, I would bring my short films. So I made short films, and then I sold them at conventions and kind of built a little brand.
What kind of conventions?
They were horror conventions and sci-fi conventions, like pop culture conventions, like the Comic-Cons and things like that. Yeah. But I was doing about a dozen of those a year, you know, in a year.
And how many DVDs would you sell when you went to that?
Well, for the two short films, I ended up selling 500 of each of them for $10 a piece. And how much did they cost you to make? $1. $1 to make the actual DVDs, but to make the short film, like the first one was like $100. My budget was like $100, and the second one was like $500. And I had like the second one, I commissioned somebody to do the soundtrack. I paid for a dancer, but then I also, you know, use favors, especially in your short films. I'm like, my friends owned a studio in Brooklyn, so we used I exchanged time for favors. So.
Yeah. So you figured out real quick how to have an ROI on your production and turn a profit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But the money always went back into making
the next thing.
Making the movies and promoting the movies.
Yeah.
And, yeah. And so I started also building an email list that way, too, luckily. So when was time and I was making my first feature documentary, which was Adventures in Platoons, about Oscar-nominated animator Bill Plympton. That's when crowdfunding 2010 finally. Actually, I was finishing up that movie when I crowdfunded for that movie.
So you already have your email list that has all the people who are watching your earlier films. You have your fan base baked in.
Well, it's a small, it's not huge.
It's 100,000 people.
It's not 100,000 people. But Seth Godin talks about that. Like, you don't need 100,000 people to have a career.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I have people who have been watching me kind of grow up from, when I was little to when I started going to conventions to, even now, meeting through live streaming or social media or, going to a restaurant or whatever.
So now they're like, yeah, I'll kick in $50 towards your next movie. I want to see that.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So a percentage of those people are, supporting my work.
That's fantastic. Okay, so now you were telling me you've produced how many films now?
10. Yeah.
10.
So this next film will be my 10th. My next narrative film, Fantastic Santa Monaco, will be my 10th film that I produced.
Okay, tell us about that film.
Okay, so that one is actually the first one that I've written entirely myself, the longest screenplay that I've written entirely myself. I've done a lot of improv in the past, and I will be doing improv in this one too, but I just kind of dove into this one. And it's about a group of performance artists who are looking for love, connection, and significance in Los Angeles. Basically trying to live the art life.
I love it. In one of the most expensive places on earth.
Yes. The fourth most expensive place to live in in the United States.
New York, San Francisco, LA.
Boston. Boston's number 3, I believe.
We're behind Boston?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah.
What are some of the shenanigans they get up to?
Well, the main characters are dealing with their parents and feeling worthy, friends with benefits, dating a girl, and then dating a guy.
Are these millennials trying to make it in LA?
Yes, absolutely.
I kind of love that.
Yeah.
And what stage are you in right now?
We are in pre-production, so we are crowdfunding for the project. By the time you will hear this, we will get the green light and go on to our next phase of casting.
And where are you going to shoot it?
In Santa Monica, Venice area.
Okay, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
What do you make of the state of women in this business at the moment?
It's interesting because when I started, I saw women working in the industry, and I had a lot of great female role models. So I didn't know it was out of the norm that, for women to direct and get commercial directing gigs and all of this. I was even in groups that was putting up stickers, around like Sundance with the Guerrilla Girls and billboards up and stating some of the statistics, but
Wait.
yeah.
What was that?
So it was part of a group in New York. It was a secret group. I don't know if I should say the name, but they did a thing with, they're not even around anymore, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, they put out stickers. So we gave out stickers at Sundance, and
Did the sticker say Guerrilla Girls?
And it also said Guerrilla Girls, yeah, because it was with the Guerrilla Girls.
And what did it also say?
It also said the statistics of women in Hollywood and the Oscars. Yeah, so
would the stickers be like, 7% of women direct
it was like
feature
3%
films? Yeah.
at the time, so because this was in 99, 2000.
Yeah, we haven't gotten any better.
Right. Not that much has moved on the needle. But I did see women who were supportive around me that were directing. So luckily, there wasn't a thing that said, like, okay, you can't do this. Mm-hmm. There was...
Because you saw it.
Because I saw it. So I'm like, oh, okay. So if you want to make movies, like, you've got to do it on a micro budget. You need to call all the restaurants in town and ask them if they can donate food for your set. And
it can be done. It's just going to be really, really hard.
Yeah. Like
really
who has a minivan? Like, who can PA for the summer?
Yeah. Were you seeing any examples of women directing a $20 million movie?
At that time, not really. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably Penny Marshall.
Yeah.
Was directing movies.
I think there's Thelma and Louise.
Mm-hmm.
And there was...
like, you can always name the big one where everyone went, oh, yeah, we're
Jane
done.
Campion.
Everything's fine.
Jane Campion,
Piano.
of course. then
Jodie Foster.
But yeah, so I did go to a couple, I went to this, I remember going to this one panel where there was a lot of filmmakers on it, and I'm just like, oh, cool. Oh, well, Susan Skoog directed Whatever. Nobody's really heard of her, but she was amazing. And
Was it called Whatever?
It was called Whatever.
Oh.
Yeah. And
this lady directed Whatever.
Yeah, and it was actually put out, it went to Sundance, and it was put out by Sony Picture Classics, and my cousin produced it. And it was this great independent movie. The girl who played Paris in Gilmore Girls was the lead.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. She's great.
Yes. Big fan.
And there was another woman in there, Catherine Rossiter, who played the mother. And I then went to acting classes with her because I'm like, of the connection. And she was an amazing acting teacher. Yeah, so I saw a little bit of that. But it was still like, I saw that Sony Picture Classics, even to independent films, like they just put on the same blueprint marketing plan, and then things get lost. And then I saw in the distribution company that I worked with, even for a sliver of time in college called Artistic License, they were putting out all the Merchant Ivory movies that with a small team, you could put out films on film.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow.
It could be done differently.
Yeah.
Because those Merchant Ivory films are gorgeous and huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
what did you learn from them as to how you could do it differently?
I learned that you can do it with a small team. And now it takes even less money because you don't need to distribute movies on film.
Right. You don't need to make a bunch of prints and ship them around.
Mm-hmm. And marketing has become a lot cheaper, too. I had a job where they had me put out postcards at places in New York City.
How'd that work?
It was kind of fun because I was walking around New York City and discovering places. But, it's very old school now.
Yeah. Although it may have been so long ago that now you could do it and it would be fresh.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, something I can touch.
Well, now you use Fiverr to hire people to hand out cards and flyers at festivals and things like that. I've done that. That's kind of fun.
Well, they're saying the new thing now is if you send someone a pen letter, it totally gets their attention.
I've done that. I sent artwork, so I often have artwork that I sell as part of my crowdfunding campaigns.
Yeah.
So
cool. Are you a success?
I believe I am. Yeah.
How do you define it?
It's doing what I want and spending my time the way I want.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the most important. Last week, I did an art show, and 2 days before, I created the art for the art show. And just having the day...
So you work well under deadline? Is that what you're saying?
I work great. I love deadlines.
I love to wait till the minute before the deadline.
Yeah. There's so many moving parts in filmmaking. But yeah, I had a launch party. But yeah, so I had the day to create 5 paintings. And it was just when you're immersed with your art, and it's a luxury.
Yeah.
It's a luxury that I live in the United States. I get to live in Los Angeles. I get to make films. I get running clean water out of my faucet. We are living in the United States are privileged.
Yeah.
So I try not to complain as much. I mean, there's always, I always say that there's always something to complain about in every level, if you're middle class, if you're upper class, you're upper class, there's always something to complain about. If you're poor, but you can always make things work no matter what. And it's interesting, I think also because of my mom, she came from nothing and she built something, and she wanted to have kids and she wanted to be able to support her kids. So I was able to go to school because of my mom. So it's having that great female role model just showed me that I can do whatever I want. I'll need to work freaking hard for it.
But it can be done.
But it can be done. Yeah. So.
Are you a badass?
I mean, I guess so.
What does that word mean to you?
Yeah. A badass. Yeah, I guess taking names sort of thing.
Kicking ass, taking names.
Yeah, kicking ass, taking names. Yeah, I am definitely an overachiever.
Yeah, I'll say.
Yeah.
And Your car. I'm going to have to take a picture of your car because it is a cute. Did you paint your car?
No, I commissioned an artist named Bunny Reese to paint my car, and I'll be putting it in my next film.
It is the cutest thing ever.
Yeah.
Wait till you see it, everybody. What have you not accomplished yet that you want to accomplish?
Oh my gosh, so much.
You're like, let me get my list. Hold on.
Yeah. I would love in the future to show my art at a big contemporary art museum, preferably
So you're
in
still
Japan.
full on painting.
Not just painting, but photography as well. And yeah, like I did paintings for this last show, but I also another project that I'm working on is a documentary on women with natural red hair called Ginger Girls: The Secret Lives of Redheads, and that I photographed over 250 women, as well as the whole documentary, interviewing things. So
Do they have a different life?
they do. They do. So yeah, having an art book for that project would be amazing. Yeah, having a TV series, even if it's a web series, would be awesome. 10 years ago, I didn't think about things like that, like, a TV series, but then seeing Lena Dunham do it straight out of, like, after her first feature, I'm like, wow. That's awesome. And then Miranda July is a huge influence. I love that she writes books, does performance art, and like shows sculptures in front of like the Pacific Design Center and Union Square. And I'm like, that's so cool. And then, directs and acts in her films. And then it has a baby.
All the creation.
All the creation. It really is.
So you're an artist.
Yes.
All right, that's how you should introduce yourself. I'm an artist.
I am an artist.
Filmmaking is one of the many things that you do.
It's true.
That's awesome.
One of the mediums that I use.
What advice do you have for young girls coming up?
Always be learning.
ABL.
Yeah, always be learning. Yeah, there's always new things that are coming up. Webinars are, I always say, are my crack. I'm always taking classes online, reading articles, like how can I make this better? If it's, an email, like how can I make this email better so it has better wording? How I even just use Grammarly, I'm like, where was this, 20 years ago? Like, that would have helped with a lot of papers.
Seriously.
Right?
Having a computer would have helped with a lot of papers for me when I was in college. Who are your influencers? Who do you follow online?
Yeah, I follow, Miranda July, Lena Dunham, like I said, Jenny Connor, Judd Apatow. I follow Cindy Sherman. Cindy Sherman's more of like an influence of like her early photography. I got to see her retrospective at the MoMA, and that was really cool. So, I don't know, I follow my friends online. I'm always seeing what they're up to. And then I have a lot of, because I take a lot of classes.
Yeah, I think that's what I mean, because you mentioned Seth Godin.
Yeah.
Like, do you follow Marie Forleo?
I do, yeah.
And her crowd?
And I'm in her, yes. I've taken B School.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. Anne Samoylov, she has a course called Fearless Launching. That's amazing. Laura Roeder, who has an app called Meet Edgar. I would love to one day come out with an app that can help, filmmakers. Or Meet Edgar is an app that helps like you pre-schedule in like many different platforms, like even like your Facebook groups, all sorts of things. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like your social media? Mm-hmm. So it can pre-plan your posts?
Yeah.
Will it post for you?
Yes.
Is it like Twuffer, but for everything?
Oh, like Buffer? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So,
that's good.
So yeah, I don't have my idea for an app yet, but
And for God's sake, don't say it here.
I won't say it here because But yeah, maybe 10 years from now, that's what I would love to come up with an app that is as cool as Postmates. Mm-hmm. And that can help people even with a job like that.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I love that it's just the sky's the limit, and whatever you want to do, you're going to do.
Yeah, it is. And lately, my mantra has been, you can't control the result, but you can control your actions. And that's been been helping me get through each day.
How do you do that practically?
By taking lots of action.
Not worrying about the outcome?
Well, you still worry. Let's
be honest.
Yeah, but taking extra time to let that go a little. Like, I practice transcendental meditation.
Yeah. So are you taking the attachment part of it
off? A little bit, yeah. Definitely taking some of the attachment off of it. And then also knowing that it's already a win-win. Whatever, like if I submit for a grant or I send a big email or I have to make that phone call like to a manager for one of the actors I want in my film, I get attached to, I definitely get attached to, like, especially people I want to work with, and if they think what I'm doing is art versus they want to just get the money, because managers, they're there to protect the actors.
Oh, for sure, make the money.
Make the money.
They're not about the artistic expression.
Right. But if I chose film because I want to make $1 million, I probably should have chose something else. I mean, yeah, that could happen.
But it's not a sure thing.
But nothing is a sure thing.
Yeah.
So that wasn't the reason why I chose acting when I was 11. I chose acting because it was play. Mm-hmm. And so now I'm doing film and art. It's still because of play.
I think that's so important. And to still consciously be doing it as a grown-up is huge.
Yeah.
Because so many of us get stuck in soul-sucking corporate, this is what I think I need to be doing to pay my bills.
Yeah, and I've definitely got distracted. I'm definitely not perfect. Like, oh, I've been doing my art the entire time. Like,
I'm pure.
Yeah, I'm pure. Right. Nobody's pure, really.
But how have you kept that focus of, I'm an artist, I'm going to do art, and not get caught up in the mortgage?
Yeah, it's been hard. Not having a mortgage has helped.
Yeah, I suppose.
And I think also knowing that the size of my bank account didn't equate to my happiness also helped. Like, I knew that getting a Bentley wasn't going to be like, okay, I'm going to be happy then.
Now I'm happy. I have a nice car.
I have a nice car. I have a nice wardrobe. I have a corporate job. Nothing is anything wrong with that, because that's what some people want. That and
we all have different needs.
Right, they get validation from that. But for me, my time was more valuable. So I chose to take on different types of jobs and clients so I could have more of my time. So I would take on a marketing client and help book their movie in multiple theaters across the U.S. because I knew I would have my time and that I could do it.
So is that, what do you do for a day job?
What do I do?
Do you have, let me rephrase, do you have a day job?
I don't have
How are you supporting yourself?
I know, right. Good question.
Like, do you take day jobs, or have you?
I take
do you like consulting service?
Yeah, it's more I'll take producing gigs and marketing clients, and I'll teach as well, things like that. So last month I put together a proposal for somebody's reality show, so they can pitch to potential sponsors. I teach a class about crowdfunding. So I've done that. Yeah, so different clients, basically.
So you've pieced together a creative career that has allowed you to keep in the creative space.
Yes.
Well done. Yeah. Not to sound like an old lady, but you so articulated the millennial stereotype of your time is more important. And I think you guys are onto something. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and then which I mentioned offline is like the live streaming. For a while I had a gig live streaming where I interviewed creatives about their creative life.
Now, is that still online somewhere? Can we find it?
I mean,
or is that the point of live stream as it disappears?
Yes. Yeah, it's still somewhere, but I'm live streaming every day, and that's I try to live stream every day, and so that's ever changing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love it. I love it. I aspire to be all of that. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you want to talk about?
We touched on Adventures in Plymtoons.
Talk more about that.
Yeah, that Adventures in Plymtoons was basically my biggest project that I undertook. It took 2.5 years to make. And I had to really come out of my comfort zone to do the project, especially because it was the first one that I directed. And I was working, it was a documentary on an Oscar-nominated animator.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a big deal. A lot of pressure for like the first one out of the gate.
And was this your idea to do?
It was my idea to do. Yeah, so I approached him, and I got out my credit cards. You know, I started, making the film.
And he gave you access?
Yeah. And so I had to make calls to Keith Carradine, Ed Begley Jr., and those were hard. Those were really hard. I finally, for Keith Carradine, I got my only commercial gig, acting gig, and they flew me to Los Angeles from New York, put me up in a hotel, and like the next morning I got the guts to actually call him, because I was just like, oh, I'm getting paid to be on it was a big deal commercial with like a Super Bowl, director. Hungry Man was producing it.
You're like, oh, I'm in town on a shoot. I thought I'd call you while I was here.
Yeah. And even though I was going to be in town like the next week anyway, but because I was from New York and I was still going back and forth between New York and LA, I felt like I'm important enough. I can call Keith Carradine. And he said, yeah, come right over, sort of thing. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And Ed Begley Jr. was the same way. He's just like, wait a minute, is this Bill Clinton or Bill Plympton? I'm like, Plympton. Yeah.
Which one of the many Bills I know?
Right. So that became a joke in the movie.
Yeah.
So we...
You're like, but can you get me in touch with Bill Clinton?
Different documentary. Maybe that'll be one of my other documentaries. But it was so nice for people like Martha Plimpton. She's like, no, I'm not available right now, but stay on me. I'm like, okay, and I did. And then she came out to a studio, and we shot everything on green screen. So it was like, I did not make it easy for myself, but I did it, and I finished it, and even got a grant from the Tribeca Film Institute, and then went on to get in festivals. We played over 40 festivals.
Fantastic.
And that's because I emailed them, I called them, I made a list of like, okay, these are the ones that I want to play, and this is the one I want to premiere. I ended up premiering at the one. It's Anastasio, is the biggest animation film festival in the world. It's from France. We played at like Big Sky, which is huge for documentary. My favorite one in the U.S. was Flyway. They had like a marketing and distribution workshop, like people, the filmmakers talking to each other, and I really got to have that festival experience.
Fantastic.
It was the best.
Did you get distribution?
We did.
Where can we see it?
So Cinema Libre put it out, and it's on Amazon Prime for free for all members. It's on iTunes. It's on Vimeo. It's on everywhere. All those places. Thank you.
Okay, so what's next? This movie or crowdfunding right now?
Yeah, Fantastic Santa Monaco is the next project.
Okay. Break a leg.
Thank you.
And where can people find you?
They can find me on my website, alexiaanastasio.com. That's ALEXIAANASTASIO.com. And you can email me. All my social media links are right there.
Excellent. And I'll link to all that too on my website. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You've been listening to The Other 50%, a herstory of Hollywood. I'm Julie Harris Walker. I'd like to thank Alexia Anastasio for sharing her story, and special thanks to Kate McDougald for the editing, Jay Rowe, Danny Rosner, and Allison McQuaid for the music. Please find us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or Podbay, and subscribe and leave a review. And of course, on our website, theother50%.com, all spelled out, for added features, bios of our guests, and the merch. And now on YouTube, you can watch part of this interview on video. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Other50% and Instagram at Other50% Podcast. And don't forget to check out The Other 50%, a herstory of tech. Thanks for listening. See you next time.